timer didn't start yet, right? Okay. So I'm reading a book ostensibly for work that one of my military friends gave me called Extreme Ownership: How Navy SEALs Lead and Win. So this is supposed to be applicable to my leadership roles at work, but I began to think, as I thought about best days ever and my best mission ever, and of course my best mission ever has been raising 4 children with my husband, and really there was a lot of lessons in extreme ownership, how the U.S. Navy SEALs lead and win, that were applicable to raising 4 children. And I thought I would share that with you in the context of a best day ever. So training. Navy SEALs are all about training. And before we had 4 children, we had a training set, and that involved 2 dogs. So this was a really good strategy. We developed our roles. He's a disciplinarian. I was the nurturer. We figured that out. We also figured out the lead, the title lesson of this book, Extreme Ownership, which is well-behaved dogs are not born, right? Well-behaved dogs are trained, right? So you have to take responsibility for the actions of your dogs. And I believe there are dogs that cannot be trained. I believe there are children that cannot be raised. And dogs are easier to get rid of if they can't be trained. So that was good. So we had 2 dogs. We trained them. They were well behaved. We thought that went well. Okay, we can have some children. So we decided to have a bunch of children. So one child was not a problem. We managed that very well. 2 children, we had to learn the second lesson in Extreme Ownership, U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win, which was move and cover. So if you're a military person, what that means is when you're going out, right, everybody is involved in the important parts of the mission. Somebody's moving, the other people are laying down cover fire, right? So at my house, by the time we had 2 children, it was nobody watches television until everybody's in bed. But nobody watches television, right? So move and cover with 2 children. So we went on to have 4 children. So we had to learn more lessons. And probably the hardest lesson, among the mommies I know, one of the most difficult lessons to learn in the mission of raising a bunch of children is the delegation of command, right? So we had developed our roles. I'm the nurturer. He is the disciplinarian. He wrote a Christmas letter once, and he had to consult with me on how to spell the word nurture. But we still we're gonna work this out, and we really had to test this for the first time. When your kids are older, one word, carpool, right? Carpool. You have to learn to carpool. When they're little, though, it's really about leaving them with someone else when they're tiny. So my first real experience of delegation of command was when I moved out of the military life into civilian world. I'm a physician. I had to take call for the first time with my new practice, and this was serious. I had to learn 2 new hospitals. I didn't know anybody. I was really very anxious about the whole thing. I had 4 little kids. Adam was 6. Lucy was 6 months old. I go to leave the house on Saturday morning. I'm delegating command to my husband, who is not a nurturer. And I remember as he's standing at the door, he's holding Lucy in one arm, and he looks at me, he looks at her, and he goes, "Does she eat?" Oh my God. And Sarah steps up next to him. She takes his other hand, and I don't remember exactly what she said. It was something like, "We got this, Mom." And so Sarah, I delegated command to, she had a platoon leader, it was Sarah. And they survived the first weekend. And he really hit his stride probably about the 3rd or 4th weekend. And I remember the 4th weekend, I was very busy. I wasn't home at all. He had developed his style by that time. When I was home with the kids, it was more like, let's help Mommy wash the dishes kind of thing, right? So he was all out, run them till they drop kind of adventure weekend. So they would leave the house. They learned to hike as soon as they could walk, and they were exhausted, and they would fall down and sleep where they stood. And that worked for him. He had his style. So I think it was the 4th or 5th weekend that I'd been in call. I'd been away the whole weekend and had fallen into bed that night. I think the kids had already been in bed when I got to go to sleep that night. Monday morning rolls around. I'm preparing to reassume command of my mission at home. And I am awakened by the familiar pitter-patter of little feet running down the hallway toward the bed. And I roll over in bed to, greet the emergency message that I'm about to receive from my little platoon leader. And I am surprised by the fact that there's a voice behind me on David's side of the bed. And it said, "Daddy, Daddy, I think I'm going to throw up." And I rolled over over just in time to see my husband, who hadn't flinched when he heard the footsteps, eyes were wide open, and I said, honey, congratulations. He said, Daddy, Daddy, the best day ever.